twang.
Beans and cornbread.
It feels so live when I'm tipping lane.
Oh, wow, baby.
We coming down, crawling slow.
Crowd slow, come on down.
It looks so live when I'm gripping gray. Pop trunk on cruise control. Soldiers
Swinging like a hammock, seat softer than a soup sandwich. Top vanish, don't panic. Let me paint the canvas, paint outstanding. Out of towners think it's outlandish. Bass so loud, you'd hear me on another planet. Damn it, he done it again. That's what them haters say. Step by step, I took my time. We wasn't made the same. Swing wide to play away. I ain't on the latest
You guys are
wave.
wondering,
Every summer grind
Paul Wall
like
dropped
breaks,
a
but
fucking
never
album.
take a break. A verse 48.
That's the only white man that I'll be okay with y'all wanting to date.
I feel like Paul Wall made it in before we closed the cookout. I wouldn't be mad at that.
I feel like Paul Wall, we didn't even have to like invite him to the cookout.
It's fair.
Like his whole career, he's been around black people. Like from the video I sent you before, I'm assuming he's been around Michael Watts since like 16.
That's a good point.
So it's like he's always been in the vicinity of us and embraced. So it's just like, yeah, you married into the family, nigga. Just.
I hold you, man. Like, I know that, he is a hip hop legend at this point, but I'm gonna always choose Paul Wall over Eminem. Like, just the music he makes. Like, we can get into the who's a rap god, lyrical miracle. Like, that's facts. But I'm a for sure. I listen to Sitting Sideways today.
Oh, absolutely. If they both drop albums on the same day, I mean, I'll listen to M just off the strength, but in reality,
like
I'm going to play Paul Wall. I'll give Eminem a listen, but I'm going to play Paul Wall.
I ain't never like M is dope. I've listened to M for some fucking like I said, just hip hop purity, but for shit show. That goddamn Paul Walliford.
Pauliford Walliford.
Man, I'ma break him off. I'm throwed. I'm not gonna lie, man. I had a decent little sound system in high school. That shit did work for me. Come on, man.
And black HBCU bands, they can play that song. In the
Yeah, I was. You know what? I was a foregone conclusion before I even got out of fucking high school. Yeah, it was over with. Yeah, like that shit right there. You mean to tell me these niggas do this shit every week?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, get me the fuck up out of here. I don't even. Yeah, get me out of here. I'm offended. I applied to any other schools. Should have just. Yeah, what? I went to that fucking. I remember going to the fucking little black college expo. They was like, "Well, yo, nigga, I'm clearing everybody. I'm going up and down these fucking rows. Everybody getting who getting one? You get the application. You get that. We apply to everybody."
I feel like I was one of the few or only people that was doing that at the black. Everybody else was going to the Black College Expo to see the performances, get bitches, and fuck around. I feel like I was the only one, especially my senior year, that was like actually like. Mm-hmm. Like I know, I got accepted to like 3 schools today.
No, yeah. My mom made it like a caravan. All you niggas get in the car. You can do whatever the fuck you feel like you want to do, but
you better put in some apps.
She got us there early. We do the apps, and she's like, now y'all can, fuck around until niggas get kind of.
Yeah, well, you know when it's time to go.
Until they get a little out of hand.
Yeah, you know when it's time to go. You can tell. You can look at the crowd and tell when the crowd shifts. Like, oh, this is the we're here to actually learn about college crowd, and this is the
when did she start
regular teenagers here fucking around crowd, and like this is the we're about to have to close this event soon crowd.
Yeah, like I remember going just to get the vibe. She just took us to whatever. She did that shit every year. So sophomore year we went just to kind of go see. Junior year we went like seriously, and you saw a particular crowd. Senior year, by the time the crowd it was like, oh yeah, no, it's time to go. Got me in the first half. Fool me once. not gonna fool me again.
Yeah, I figured that shit out real. I mean, you figured that out in general. Being a teenager in LA during that time, like when it's like, yeah, it's time to go.
Yep.
It's time to go. Like situational awareness for black men growing up in lower economic communities. Like
That.
you learn real quick. Like, oh, it's like rain. I can smell bad weather coming.
That's called intuition, everybody.
Oh, we have that.
I don't want to lead y'all into it anymore. Just that's intuition.
Black men have intuition.
There's been a lot of like little things I've seen on the internet that are like, you know, broaching that fucking topic, you know, sincerely and not just saying shit around it. And I'm here for it. So we can just kind of wrap some of this shit. I swear, we can wrap so much of this shit the fuck up, man. Like,
it's Christmas time. We really can't wrap up a lot of shit. That's the point. We got gifts. We got gifts. Open them hoes and let's utilize it.
My supervisor has a fucking like she got a spiel like no other to be like, hey, you know, we were having like, you know, you do the supervision shit, and she like caught a whiff of me, you know, being a captain altruist, underselling some shit. She's like, fuck that. She's like, we have a skill set. Don't ever do that shit again. I was like, okay. Damn, nigga, she was like, yeah, don't ever. We have a legit skill set. Did you not just do the graduation thing? Did we not just do all this shit, all this paperwork and shit for you to apply for this motherfucking number? I was like, she didn't say motherfucking, but she might as well have.
She might as well have.
It was.
She did in a different way.
Yeah, I said, well, yeah. And she was like, okay then. She's like, there's a skill set. Don't skip a fucking thing. Write all this shit down. I said, oh, okay, all right. Let me. My fault.
My mentor have the same. She kind of like yelled at me a little bit more, I think like last week. Because she just, granted, I have LinkedIn, but I barely touched that bitch.
My sister was telling me about LinkedIn. And like, that's a very
people really are like active on LinkedIn doing X, Y, and Z. And she was like, when's the last time you updated your LinkedIn? And I was like,
man.
When I was looking for a job, which was years ago. And she's like digging at me about that. But she's also like, all the speaking engagements you've done over the last 2-3 years and they're not listed on your LinkedIn. I was like,
that's a good point. Shit, I didn't know you could do that on LinkedIn.
You got me. I mean, that's work experience. So listing that as work experience or special talents or whatever the case is, that helps boost your resume. Now, granted, I don't think of being on LinkedIn because, you know, I'm independent. So I'm not thinking of appeasing myself to other people for the sake of a job. But as far as getting into consulting more and wanting to do speaking engagements or panels or things of that nature more and starting to make more money for those things, it's like, yeah, I haven't written down my resume of the shit that I've been doing over these years. And I kind of dropped the ball on that. I'll have to go back and like figure all them out. But yeah, she was chewing me out kind of in the same way. Like, if you don't knock it off, like, what are you doing? Like, you a year in, as far as being licensed, all this shit you need to update. Like, we trying to figure out what we going to do for our business and how that affects you and, like, you taking over some shit. But at the same time, I want you to do the shit that you want and need to do for your damn self. And you kind of bullshit in some areas. And I was like, noted.
That's a bar.
I'll take that. And I kind of, like, the group that it made me put some things into perspective as far as the group that I do on Fridays. I was part of the topic that I brought to the group as far as I spoke on rebellion, but we rebel against things that are external, but like, why is it so difficult for us to rebel against things internally? And kind of facilitated a conversation around that, but also getting to the point of like rebelling against smallness, especially for a lot of us. We may, you know, most of them they re-entry. They was incarcerated. Some of them are fighting cases. Some of them beat their cases, and they're trying to like get into music to try to change their life around. But it's like, hey, you gonna have aspects of you that are gonna tell you you're not good enough, or you're small, or should be small, or you can't expect to be big in this area, that area. It was like, nah, you got to rebel against that shit to help yourself understand just how big you are and your contributions to that, whatever it is that you're doing in that moment.
Yeah, I think there was something I was watching. I want to say it was like one of those conversations that Tripp was having, but it was one of his guests on there, and she was a therapist, and she was discussing like, she said something that kind of like threw me for a bit. She said, like, as a therapist, it was some way she said it. I'm not saying it exactly how she said it, but it was something along the lines of like, as a therapist, not necessarily asking your client why. And I was like, I don't know if that's true, or like how much I thought about that. Because to do the rebellion thing, I would have to ask at least myself, why do I think this, so I can start to peel back like where this thought process comes from, why I may or may not be giving myself the space to be as great as or as big as I need to be. And I guess like maybe like as a therapist, I might not ask that exact question, but I don't know that I wouldn't push to get in that zone of like, well, where exactly did that come from? You know, it's not saying why necessarily, but I want you to start, you know, I'm at least go, hey, you ever, I know we've been going left this whole time. Have you ever tried to go right? It just seemed like there might be some shit over there. I mean, see that box? You want to open it?
Right. The why is going to come at some point anyway. You're going to if you want to do the work, you're going to get to the why. And you're going to have to answer that motherfucker. Whether you answer it in depth or you just kind of let it plant some seeds for you and you start to process it, you're going to have to arrive at the why at some point if you want to do the work. But it is imperative for us to do that work as well. It's like, why do I want to work with this population, or why am I in this field, or why do I this, or why do I that? I was having a conversation with somebody. I can't think of who. I think I had that conversation more than once over the last couple of weeks. But it's like, as a society, we are conditioned to chase survival through finance, and we don't chase purpose. I think it was Leilani I was having this conversation with. It's like we don't chase purpose anymore, and that's why shit ends up lacking, especially in our communities, because we're not asking ourselves that question of why. Like, why do I want to do this job? Like, you know, I think I gave the example, like the stereotypical immigrant comes here, and even based on their cultural background, it tells them what field they're going into. Like, we can joke about the African immigrant coming here and becoming an engineer, or we can joke about the Asian immigrant coming in here and being in this field, or the white, you know, like they all have certain things that their cultures and families push them into for a myriad of different reasons that have nothing to do with their actual talents and purpose. And we don't rebel against that or fight against that to say like, no, what is it that my talent actually wants me to do and why?
I had thought about that because if you guys did notice, we didn't record last week. So last week, you know, I was at a wedding. Fucking shit was beautiful.
Oh, I want to say Indian wedding.
Yes, it was fucking, you know, shut the fuck up when you see love talking. I actually had like a myriad of thoughts and feelings about that because we were there on behalf, I mean, I met them both, but like we were there on behalf of the bride that's my sister's best friend. And so like part of that was like, I was like, damn, nigga, like I thought I would have only like these like big brother-esque thoughts about like my sister, but I was like, oh man, I know this little motherfucker when she was, this is amazing. And her husband's cool. So cool, gamer dude. Also, there's like a sidebar conversation there when they were having their, like they were doing, not their vows, but like we were at the reception and they were like having like speeches. And she was discussing the importance of during the tough times of their relationship when they were having like, they were like doing long distance. They were both in school in their programs, fought through it, gang shit. And how important, like his Discord group was. As far as like keeping his head in the game, like kind of keeping him on board, like people who were like very far. And, you know, a lot of that shit comes through like the gaming fucking community and shit. Yeah. So I thought that was like cool to hear. I was like, oh, you know, that is like, you know, a positive in the space of like, you know, motherfuckers were young. They came through COVID. There's a lot of things that I see like just with clients where like social skills are like not a thing because they are so distant and on screens and shit. So it was a cool little tidbit to go, oh, this was a positive, and like we might all be at different parts of the world because of our careers and shit. But you know, you're having a tough time, nigga. We can get on Call of Duty, and instead of calling each other big-headed fuckers, unless that's what works for y'all, you know, it was a positive space. But I said that to say is like when his dad was doing like, you know, his speech, there was a conversation that kind of tied into what you were saying where he was like, you know, somebody in here is a doctor. And I was like, oh shit. I just thought about like it was so many like doctors and engineers and or at least that's what was said. I didn't talk to everybody. I don't know what everybody does. Yeah. But you know, thinking of that sometimes about like, you know, even like in an age thing or in a, you know, if you came from another country, you know this is like a locked in job. But how much of even that disconnect might happen because if you bring a kid here and they grew up here, you might want to be a fucking artist because you've had the influence of being out here. Yeah. I don't know. That like little disconnect and what that might look like as far as bumping heads.
I mean I've noticed that a lot as far as like clients that I work with that are of different cultures, and some I don't mean different cultures as far as them being black or not black because some of them may be African or their parents are from you know, the motherland, but they're born here.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still the influence of home country or home continent. But even that, like, I'm here. I'm thinking of, like, say, Africa, engineers. We need engineers in Africa because we need infrastructure.
Mm-hmm.
Or doctors if you come from India because, like, yeah, our healthcare isn't necessarily the greatest all the time. So we need more doctors to come back. Like, our culture and our home country needs these things, and they make a lot of money in the U.S., so we're pushing you to go into those fields because we recognize the need overall, not necessarily a talent for you or a need that you may want to fulfill, but this is a need of what our country or our people need. And then we think of, just randomly thinking of here, it's like, yeah, we need social workers.
Mm-hmm.
Because everybody's in fucking disarray. Everybody's mental and emotional is all over the place. People need help getting themselves back. Like, we have a lot of potential, but we don't have a lot of guidance and support to actually look into ourselves and help ourselves get better and be stable and, like, not be fucking aloof and conditioned by certain bullshit. So, yeah, we need social workers here, but we're not pushing people into that field. We're not even compensating them enough to want to go into that field.
I think traditionally it's been like, you know, not understood what these fields do. Because, I mean, shit, I know you've experienced it. Just sometimes, I don't know. It was even early on noticing that, like, nobody knew exactly what this, like, I don't know, mental health, social service, human services type field, like, looks like, until I'm describing a regular Tuesday for us. And somebody's like, oh, my God, when did that happen? I was like, that happened 2 hours ago. It's going to happen tomorrow with this other one because of whatever he's going through. I know he's getting prepared to kind of pop his top, and we have to kind of, you know, we got safety plans up the wazoo about all these motherfuckers, but how, you know, there's, how do I say, it's very out of sight, out of mind for certain communities. Like, you know, that shit is off to the corner. And I thought about that even during my little stint of working with the homeless community. It's like, if you weren't in this field, you wouldn't know that, like, you could be downtown, walking down the street to, you go into Target, and I forget what street that was on, but there was like a nice little, like, cool restaurant that had it was like a little Italian spot, but it's right in the middle of downtown. But I'm like, because I work in this, fucking a block down is a shelter.
Yeah.
And, like, it's mad people in here going through tons of shit. And we would sometimes walk, you know, I'm taking you to go so you can learn your skills. You know, we're going to go shopping today. We're going to get out in the community so we can have, like, a little session so you can get out of it. But no one knew. We remember one time we were walking, and I'm always big on, you know, I'll put my badge away. We look like just two regular friends walking. Mm-hmm. But no one would be in none the nobody knew going into this thing they're about to pay, you know, $40 for a plate here and take a picture and put it on Instagram. You have zero idea that right down the street, somebody is, like, going through their whatever part of their life, and, you know, out of sight, out of mind.
Them niggas got an idea.
Yeah.
Now, for some people, I won't say it's out of sight, out of mind. They have conditioned themselves to have selective blindness.
That's
like,
fair.
Certain shit just doesn't register to me because it's not important to me. I come across it, but I'll blank it out. In a moment, that makes me think of, like, I forgot when the study was done, but there's a study that someone did as far as brainwaves were concerned, to where, like, for white people, them walking past a black person, their brain would register the same as if they were walking past a light pole. So where it's like, it's just an inanimate object there that it has no significance of importance to me. I recognize that it's there, but I don't acknowledge it in my unconscious or subconscious. Like, I could care less about it. Whereas for us, I think they did our brainwaves, and, like, our shit is hyper. Like, we notice everything. Yeah. Because, you know, our communities and our experiences have conditioned us to be mindful of that. So for them unconsciously not even recognizing they have a privilege to not pay attention to certain demographics of people. You're downtown. You willingly moved downtown. Like, everybody in the world knows about Skid Row. Anybody that has ever set foot in the U.S. a few times, they've heard of Skid Row in California. They don't know for sure what it looks like, but they know about it. So you knew when you moved downtown that Skid Row wasn't too far. You knew when you moved to Southern California that there was a certain level of homelessness that we deal with that nobody else deals with. You just have the privilege of not having to actually acknowledge it.
Yeah, and I think I'm not sure if this was. I mean, I guess it's always been a thing like that people have in their mind socially, for a variety of reasons. In my mind, I feel like I want to say some Reagan-y thing, but I don't know if he actually said something like this. But the concept that homeless people are homeless for only because their own fucking circumstances, like it's just a big group of fuck ups, and there's not a system of issues that put somebody in a position to end up in this way. And I think that helps people do that thing that you just said of like, oh, this is a light pole because this is not a human being, because this person is obviously in this position because they just didn't do enough. And it's like, bro, this motherfucker like is a severe schizophrenic. Like, fuck off.
And some of that shit may have developed after their circumstances fucked them up.
Not to mention those veterans y'all say y'all care about so much.
It is.
They right there. To say that, and y'all don't do a fucking thing.
Veterans, to me, is kind of like, not for everybody, but it's kind of no different than the school to prison pipeline. Yeah. Because there's a lot of, like, we both worked, but, you know, foster kids, the kids in the system, they're directly correlated with going to jail. And there's a lot of people that's on Skid Row or on the streets because they got out and didn't have the resources that they need or access to the resource. Like my PO say I got to get a job, but they're not telling me where to go to get one. Or I don't have
actually telling me how to like,
or how to navigate that, or helping me sign up for a program that's going to help me like get prepared to start going on job interview. Like I have to find that shit for myself. It's out there, but I have to find it for myself or have a social worker that can help me understand why to enlist in these programs and like be a part of it. If I don't have that, then I'm just kind of SOL on the streets and I'm starting back exactly where I come from, and then I'm going to continue to go through the same cycle. The military seems to say to me, like, if I'm in the military active duty, I'm cool. Mm-hmm. And some of them re-enlist, not because they love the military. You will be surprised. Well, some of y'all will be surprised. I'm not. I come from a military family, so I know what it is. But there's a large majority of people that are in the military that do not like the military or this country. It's strictly a means of survival because that's, in order to beat some of this cycle, I have to stay in it. Because once I exit it, this shit is going to be a whole lot harder for me to be stable. And I'd rather stay in it and keep stacking and keep trying to figure this shit out other than trying to figure it out on the outs on my own. And I don't have the tutelage to be able to do that properly.
You get a lot of the same community of people. It's like if you were in a tough spot financially, you're in a tough spot. You know, everybody here is not coming from like, that used to be the shit in my, used to be the shit my dad used to say. He's like, look, man, like you can figure it out, but he's like, you better, it's school or the military, because if you fucking around and trip and fall, you gonna fuck around and end up in jail. And the same like kids who don't have that type of resource, don't have a dad or somebody to try to like at least do the best they can, or their parents are doing the best they can and they didn't have, it's generational shit going on. Yeah, you try to escape because it's like, this is a system that's supposed to be able to pay me. But these systems use you as resources. They don't build you to go like figure that shit out. You even get in them and have to figure out like, okay, I have to go out of my way to find ways to take a skill set that transitions me back into the world. Like, I'm an inmate. 9 times out of 10, like the inmate process is just institutionalizing you more. You can only exist in prison because that's fucking regular. You go outside until you get a job. Nobody's teaching you how to process out of this fucking environment or reshape this environment to be a rehabilitation type environment. Kind of the same thing from what I've gathered from like even my friends in the military. Like you come out and it's like, I know how to be a soldier level, whatever my fucking shit is, but there are certain types, and it's like, well, man, they didn't give you no fucking skill set outside of do this job that is very important for this moment as a fucking person in the military. Nigga, I need you to do the code and shit, or do this, that, and the third. And if there's no, I don't know how that whole process works, but it does seem like it's a tough transition to be like, hey man, from step one, from boot camp on, we're gonna, like that jarhead shit. Mm-hmm. We're gonna teach you blow them up, shoot them up, bang bang, and this is your life. And then you do your stint, and it's like, okay, well, like, what do I do outside of here? Like, what does that look like?
What is life gonna be like afterwards? I mean, normally we have anime on the screen in the back. Today it's football. It has been recently, but
that's another fucking group.
That's exactly where I was going with it. It's like, even for the professionals, like dudes be in the game, and even if they only had like a 3-year career, you still walk away with, say, a little bit over $1 million. And what do I do now? So they go into coaching or commentating. Shout out to Teddy Bridgewater for going back home, providing to his people and helping his community win a state championship. So shout out to him for that. But not a lot of them are doing that. They're trying to figure out, like, I've been playing football since Pop Warner. I don't know what to do other than play football. So I'm going to take a job talking about football, or I'm going to go coach football, because I really don't know what else to do with myself outside of that. There's a very small percentage of us that actually go pro and have careers in the pros, and there's an even smaller amount of us that know what to do if football's not involved.
That's what one, that shut up and dribble shit is or shut up and play shit is bad, because it does teach you to, like, keep your head down and only identify with this.
Right.
But I understand why we do it as a community, because, again, everything that niggas do is from a survival space. Because, like, you get here, you make a lot of money, you make a lot of this. But the idea to be like, we need to use this as a stepping stone resource so that you can go explore this, that, and the third is not taught as much. I heard something, I was watching one of these interviews from the piano lesson or whatever. Good movie. I talked about this last episode. It's a good film. And they were talking to the one who directed it, Malcolm Washington. I think that's his name.
Oh, Denzel's.
Yeah. The son who was the director, not John David. But they were talking to him, and he was on, I think it was on Sway, and he made a good point. I think he went to school for, like, economics or whatever. Niggas love economics. That was like him, and I think I forget, there was another actor who was talking about him being in economics. But either way, he was having a conversation, went to school for economics, sort of got the bug to get in the film, and he was talking to, I guess, his best friend's mom, and she was like a surgeon, did the thing, went to medical school, and she made a point to say, she was like, well, it was my generation who did what we had to do, but that's to put y'all in a position to do what y'all want to do. Not necessarily telling nobody they just can go fucking around and do cartwheels, but a bit of, if I'm a doctor, if I did this more or less rigid track of, success, I do want to be able to give you a space that, not to just say you need to go spelunking and, like, blow off my money, but I can give you space to, like, find your calling. I have a back and forth, obviously, about niggas and entertainment just as our only go-to, but you don't necessarily have to do what I do. I wouldn't fucking make my kid be a therapist. You have enough influence and sprinkles of that just being my fucking kid. So if you go, I want to go and figure out how to build robots or some shit, go for it. Cool. Because I can't fucking do that shit. If we're talking about community building, everybody don't got to do what I do. So unless I'm like the house of therapists or whatever, or the house of whatever and so on. But we're not there yet, so it don't matter.
Yeah, I'm going to push your ass to go to the gym. That's probably the only thing I'm going to push you to do is to take care of your physical. But everything else, like, whatever it is that you find an interest in, go do that. But I want you to do it out of purpose. I would probably react the same way that some parents, say from our parents' generation, would react of, like, yeah, I want to be a content creator. Like, knock that shit off and find something more meaningful. Not to say that you can't have a meaningful platform if you're doing content creation, but a lot of people aren't doing that from a place of purpose. No. There's not a lot of people that are like, I follow some pages like, one that comes to mind is Know Your Caribbean. She has her platform to inform black people of, like, the history of Caribbean culture and how it ties into blackness and what that means and infrastructure and things of that nature. Like, that's the platform that you're building on a regular basis. That's something that may generate some revenue from you from books and merchandise and things of that nature, but it's teaching about your culture. Not everybody has a platform that's doing that. Y'all are following a blueprint or a template of what somebody else is doing for money and saying, I want to do that too, which is not the same thing. So I would probably have a moment of, like, you want to do what?
I think I could do that because it puts me in the frame of mind of, like, having to use whatever skill set I've used over the course of my career to, like, talk to, teenagers. Like, they're fucking, they're inspirational. They got a lot going on up here, but it's just wild ideas with no structure. So, like, that, if you told me you were going to be a content creator and if I could help, like, you, like, do what she did, like, I can fuse it into oh, you want to talk about like African shit, that forces you to go read your history. So you got a skill set. If you want to post the fucking skill set on the internet, cool. But eventually, for you to learn all this, I'm putting you in a position where you got to go read, you got to go learn. Maybe you should go over here because if you get this much information on this, it'll help you do your posts. I done fucked around and got you a whole degree in whatever the fuck else, or a skill set that you can go research and blah blah blah. At the very least, I could maybe throw you in something you can survive, and then chase your passion. I would probably do that. Like the same thing. And I was really mad when this program fucked up, but the way for like some of the youth that I've worked with, that everybody want to be a rapper. Mm-hmm. So taking those opportunities to put them on to rap, that's, good. I'm not finna. I feel like that's always dumb when somebody's like, "Oh, these kids don't rap," and you start showing them like KRS-One, like that nigga's not gonna listen. You have to find like happy mediums. Yeah. Like I know I've used Paul Wall before, just like shits and just out of nowhere for shits and gigs, and it's like, oh, that sounds good. So now we can get to a conversation about money. I want to make money. Okay, cool. I've used that. Big Crit one time gave me a great fucking intervention. I was like, he wrote this and he made the beat. He kept all the money. I should probably learn. You should learn how to make beats, but what's better too? You can write better rhymes the more shit you read, because you'll know more words. That's crazy. Yeah. So,
I mean, I used to do that a lot when I used to come across kids in the system that wanted to, like, oh, I can be rappers, this, that, and the other, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, so-and-so went to college, right? What? I didn't. Mm-hmm. I didn't know he did. Yeah, he went to college, right? This group went to college, like they met in college. They may have dropped out, but at least they made it to college and understand the value of having an education. They just had their music shit blow up at a certain period in time, and then they just chose to go a different route. But there's so many people in the industry that have gone to college or were college adjacent in some capacity, or they're just educated. And it's like the more you learn and the more you can expand your vocabulary, the more you are exposed to different shit, the more you have stuff to talk about and you can expand what you're trying to say. Like, you're not going to get that just being another statistic off the block. It's not going to help you. You're going to sound like everybody else because you're seeing the same thing as everybody else, and none of y'all are seeing nothing different. So what do we have to talk about other than the same shit that the last 15 motherfuckers done talked about? Like, it would behoove you to try and go to college.
Yeah, I think that's one thing about, like, stuff that we find popular in the culture. Like, if I'm just using hip-hop for an example, like, nobody sets out, like, I think social media now has helped people, have more cohesive conversations about it. But before, it's just like, you just make a song and make it big. And it's like, well, there's a lot of fucking, like, steps when you start listening to these motherfuckers. No, we used to be in the studio every day. Oh, you consistently, like, did the thing, got better at it, you tweaked it, you were writing, you were this. Because I remember motherfuckers used to, I'm not going to say his name on here. But I remember, kid coming and he was one of the first ones I saw, like, he had a rhyme book. And it's like, okay, I'll read this. This sounds great for me as like I'm not a writer, I'm not a creative in this person, but this is not flowing the same. You should rap this out. So now at least here we're going over repetition. This is how it sounds. Like, before you put it on the track, like, it sounds this whack. And they're like, oh, like, yeah, now go back and do it again. I'm here for the next 10 hours, my boy. Like, we can do this shit all day.
Right. You don't know how many different words you can put in this same spot that'll give your rhyme a different feel.
What about this? Here's a thesaurus, my boy. Like, get your best TI on.
Right.
And even
for him, like, as he got more money, expanding his knowledge and getting more into social justice, and I think him having to go sit down for that year
for sure
definitely played a major role in that as well, because you start, not only are you still having similar experiences, because I haven't elevated, now I really, like, this shit is affecting my current, which is supposed to be different. Let me figure out how to start seeing shit a little bit differently, or let me figure out how to surround myself with other people that can help me expand in different ways, as opposed to just investing my money in the same ways. I can invest my money in other ways, but I have to learn what that looks like, and I have to be able to be open and vulnerable and go to people and say, like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Can you teach me? Can you mentor me? Can you do this? Like, can you give me some game? Even that within itself is a journey, to be able to understand that it's okay to say that I don't know. That's no different than you deciding to read a book on a certain topic.
That makes you think about, like, will we get different? I mean, everybody, I guess, gets different as they get older, but, like, how, like, Thug's parole or whatever may affect his rhymes because you can't go. I think it was like something crazy. Like he can't go back to Atlanta for like the first like 5 years, and then after that he can only go for like important things for a couple weeks at a time. Like he's severely super ostracized from like his regular normal environment. And if I'm comparing that to what you said about T.I., like it forces you to change your, because I'm not around this shit no more. I can talk about what's in my environment I feel like there's a lot of rap niggas that make themselves have to like, I got to go back and touch this a little bit, this specific aspect, so that I can rap about it, as opposed to, how some I think the best ones go. Like even Snoop just dropped the album. Snoop will always let us know that he is fucking with the C's and the B's. He used that exact bar. Like he's used that bar like a couple times, but it's very much like I'm never gonna let you niggas forget that I'm a nigga from Long Beach. But did you guys know that I also know Martha Stewart? And I'm going to rap about, I don't fucking know, having a cookbook. And I'm going to rap about I'm not doing said things without the contract looking good. This is what my life looks like now. Sounds really fucking cool. It sounds amazing. It'll be something to blast in your car. But I'm not finna rap to you. I'm going to figure out how to make my journey, fucking palatable. And so I feel like maybe for Young Thug, we might get like a different Thug. Because I'm not doing that shit no more, and my lyrics clearly they tried to stick me for it. So now I might tell y'all how I just went and built the new Louvre in the middle of whatever fucking city he's in.
He gonna get recruited by Jake to come up there in Canada and help regain his blackness and his street cred. Hey, bruv, come up here and help man's.
Crody. Have you seen that shit online? Like the way everybody like just was like, Andrew Schultz, I hate you.
I have, and I'm not entirely mad at it, but also he's a comedian, so not to excuse it. But a lot of y'all ain't pay attention to shit Andrew Schultz said until Kendrick said something about it, and now they kind of know who Andrew Schultz is.
That was kind of like my I guess my thoughts on it. Like I don't. How do I say this? I think what he said was fucking wild. But I guess my thing is like, I guess when motherfuckers arrive to other people new, and I'm like, oh, did you not know who this motherfucker was? Like, cause he, he's always kind of said some shit has been funny. I've listened to the Brilliant Idiots for a long time, but there is a bit of like, it always makes you think of like how much access you give somebody to have an opinion on your culture. Cause there are things that like he says, I'm like, maybe you have a point, but I always got a little bit too much of, hey man, like, you are, it makes me think of like when I look at, okay, I double back to even the Indian wedding thing. Like I always, I obviously like am connected to the family here and stuff like that, but I always enter as a guest in the culture, as a guest in this particular thing. I'm not of this culture. I out of respect and love and just whatever, I walk a certain way within this because this is not mine, all the hidden colors people back up off me. I understand, but like, for the sake of this conversation, please, relax. But for us, I feel like it's still that cookout conversation of never ever. Like I think a good check is good from time to time to be like, hey, chill out. Like this right here, everybody got the white friend. You've had a couple of. I've had them myself. Like, hey. No disrespect, we can have a good night. We can still continue to have a good evening, day, or whatever. But that right there, that's the line. That's it. Jokes are not jokes. Like, that's the line.
Boundaries.
Yeah.
That makes me think about, like, say for Andrew, you working so closely with Charlemagne. Like, how does Charlemagne or people like that have, I'm in entertainment, I have a certain platform, but I'm also positioned and postured close to white people. How do I draw boundaries with them as far as how they express their opinion or what their thoughts are on? Because part of it is like, I don't want to police it because then I have to be responsible for educating you, and it ain't my job to educate you. You should be educating yourself to recognize how not to be tone deaf. But at the same time, like, I do got to draw boundaries of like, hey, nigga, you know what you said? Like, say for him, he can have that conversation with Andrew on air, but off air, I'm sure it should and will look different. Of like, yeah, on air, oh yeah, I understand this, that, and the other, blah blah blah. But you gotta pay attention to this, that, and the other. Just hold him accountable a little bit, and then off air, be like, All right, guys, then that's it. That's a wrap. Thank you. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Okay, cool. Hey, I'll see y'all later. Hey, nigga, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah, because I feel like, I don't know, I feel like there's a bit of, I go back and forth with this because now everything is like out, everybody's talking. The more you look at other cultures, like everybody is having what is quote unquote in-house conversations outside. It's just us. We do so much of letting everybody else have an opinion as opposed to, you might see me and you arguing, and if you and me are going at it, I'm going to still kick your motherfucking ass. This is my brother, not yours. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that was a bit of even how this shit started. I know the initial shit was like him with the shits and gigs thing and them talking about, you know, the black women thing. And that's been a conversation even kind of rolling around online. And it's like, well, me as a black man who was involved dating, loving on black women, I can have my critiques as the proverbial like partner, you know, male aspect to your female aspect. You motherfucker, like the black woman effect, and I think like there's context without it. Like the black woman effect was a funny joke up until the point of, you know, like you see, we all make that joke. Travis Kelce is a regular white boy from Cincinnati till he get a black girlfriend, and now he got the fade and this and that, and oh my God, Travis Kelce. Yeah. I was participants in that too, but you know, whatever. But when you take the joke to like, oh, now they're abusive, now he needs it. I'm like, well, hang on, nigga, like, cause who are you to start saying? And that's just one of those shits. Like, I don't feel like we always need to explain that. I don't talk, you know, tons of shit about whoever the fuck else because I'm not of that culture. I don't know what I'm talking about. But the whole you need to deal with, you know, her punch him in the jaw. And I'm like, well, man, you made a joke you can't make. You not that, like, yeah, you a guest in the house. Like, I feel like some of this shit, there's a bit of explaining all around where it's like, you treat a motherfucker, you a guest in this house. This is still, at the end of the day, my house. You can use the bathroom, but if I say one day bathroom off limits, nigga, shit outside.
I mean, I want us to not be tone deaf to where we don't recognize that there's a multitude of different sides to the conversation. Because say, for instance, the black woman effect, and they're cool until they become abusive. Well, let's talk about abuse in general. Are we talking about verbal abuse or are we talking about physical abuse? If we're talking about verbal or emotional abuse as far as manipulation is concerned or gaslighting or things of that nature, some of that shit we could wrap up to just a lot of women in general have these traits in our society because that's what we give to them. So that may not be a black woman conversation. That may be a man versus woman and how we interpret each other conversation. Because all the white women that's dating black men ain't fucking Rachel Dolezal. A lot of you bitches are fucking Kim Kardashian or fucking, what's that other one's name? What's that white woman's name? The one that was with Kanye that got her whole head tatted up now.
Oh, the one who's a Trumpy, Amber Rose.
Yeah. She flip-flopping between her own racial identity at different times. Sometimes she an ally and sometimes, like now, she's a Trump advocate.
You know me.
Yeah, she don't understand her own shit. But, like, there's so many different aspects of women within a culture and how they show up. So when you say they're all abusive, are you talking about like adding in those extra subtexts or the subcontext to process? Like even Travis Kelce, old girl that he was with wasn't, for lack of a better term, since we're not supposed to police somebody's blackness, but she's not black, so to speak. She's black by culture, but she's white posturing, which is why she's dating white men in the first place. Like she doesn't even attract to black men like that. She does now because she's mad at Travis for going back to a white woman, which is, that's part of the stereotype for white people. They'll mess with black people up to a certain point. They'll fetishize us. And then when it comes to settling down and creating family and legacy, you bring your ass back over here and you do that with a white person. So like there's so many different stereotypes at play. Are you looking at all of them when you make your joke, or are you just trying to say something inflammatory? And I feel like for Andrew, it works in his favor most of the time, but I think he can be tone deaf as far as like you say shit to be inflammatory because you can and that's your shtick.
Yeah, and I think there's like this, and to me, it's nobody's saying that a motherfucker can't say jokes. I feel like the same shit with everybody else. Like you say something, you should hear. You said a lot of shit here.
Absolutely.
You deal with the consequence of what you say. I can't just go outside and be like, you know, this motherfucker. Everybody who drives Fords is a fucking little bald loser. I could say that, and a motherfucker with a Ford step out with huge balls and ready to fucking fight. Like the same shit. It's crazy. It's funny because the motherfucker who sits next to you on the show is like, you know, you can say whatever you want, but you can't control. It's some way he says it, some statement like that, but you can't control how people respond to what you say.
Right.
So you could say the joke, you could do this, but that's supposed to be the whole part of the art and respect that you have for a comedian. Like, you could say a thing, and you also have the wherewithal to deal with the fact that what you said is going to piss people off. Not to mention doubling down and doing little things that are. There's been a bunch of conversation about this. I don't really plan to sit here too long, but even with like some of the ways he took it and like chose to defend it, saying, you know, like, oh, this is the same Kendrick who was a hip hop artist who say things that, you know, discredit women. And I'm like,
you just posture yourself closer to the stereotypical whiteness that we talk about.
Yes. So I'm not up here saying that hip hop doesn't have things to answer for, but being able to weave in and out of, because even there's some things where it's like, you know, well, I don't know, but from what I've heard, like either you are in here as a participant of the culture and you take the brunt of it, but don't get to weave in and out of it when it suits you. That's, you know, that's like, you know, some little leechy predatory shit.
Absolutely.
But that's on us to police our own culture, because you could go ahead and the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
You know,
like
I don't have to let you in.
To a degree, we made you famous, so you might want to be
for sure.
careful. Like, white people wasn't fucking with Andrew like that. The world started fucking with Andrew more because they realized that black people was fucking with Andrew because of Charlemagne, who's a black person.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's like, you might want to be a little bit careful about biting the hand that feeds you. But also, just for your own personal development, am I making sure that I'm looking at all the different parts because I really want to be one of the best to do it? Like, if I think of, like, one of my favorite white man comedians, George Carlin, like,
A shit show.
equal opportunity ass kicker. Every culture can get it, including my own. Matter of fact, I'm here to attack human beings and society as a whole because we're all fucking stupid.
But I think the difference between like a Carlin, there's a difference between I'm making jokes for shock value and I'm making jokes because I'm having an overall underlining purpose for what I'm saying. Like,
Yes.
Carlin got into a bag where I guess you would have to say like Chappelle might be trying to get into his Carlin bag as in the sense of, I'm not saying this as far as like you got to agree with both of their ideals, but like my comedy sets become jokes mixed with like these interwoven speeches, because at a certain point you stop being just the funny guy. Your job is to, you know,
Educate.
Yeah,
I mean, you
you're supposed
realize
to
your
turn them-
platform is important.
yeah, I'm supposed to put a mirror to society. That requires a certain level of like intellectual processing, and I'm gonna have opinions about things. So
That makes you think of Ryan Davis, like how he,
Yeah.
especially over the last couple of years, how he stepped more and more into like, yeah, I'm going to make jokes about any and everybody, but I'm using this satire and my snarkiness as a way to point out obvious shit that we keep ignoring, which is fucking us up as a people and as a society. Oh, I realized that my comedy isn't necessarily just comedy. The court jester is not just somebody that's out here shucking and jiving and you know, tap dancing for the entertainment of other people. The court jester was the person that helped keep the king informed on what the people in the streets were talking about and what was going on. Like, he was the first original news source. I'm joking about these things and presenting it to you in a funny way so that you understand the realness of what's actually going on out here, so you're not as tone deaf when you got to do X, Y, and Z, and vice versa. I'm helping the people out in the fucking community understand how to laugh at real shit that's going on, but also bring it to your attention as a form of, you know, being a little bit of an anarchist, in my opinion. But, like, yeah, comedy isn't just for the sake of getting money to be an ass, which is what a lot of people think comedy is. I'm just going to tell my story and be a dick or do funny videos or do shit to piss people off, and that makes me a comedian. It's like, no, comedians are supposed to be mirrors of society and teachers of how to improve it. And if that ain't what your purpose is, kind of going back to my statement earlier, like chasing purpose over profit, if you ain't looking at how to do the shit that you want to do with purpose, you really doing it a disservice.
yeah,
It's my personal opinion. Like, everything has a fucking purpose.
I feel like that's I agree. I feel like at a certain point, I mean, I like it because I feel like it does give you the ability to separate, you know, just what you want to ingest, but some people might not have, wherever they're at on whatever little journey they're doing, to being like, purpose driven, so to speak. So I was like, oh, okay, well, if that's not your bag, I could, take in whatever art or whatever you're making, but I know kind of the level it's gonna tap out at. So I just know what I'm engaging with. Like, I might go here for the lowbrow shit. I want a little cheap laugh, or I want some shit to play in the background while I'm cleaning my house. Somebody who's gonna maybe like, really, that's my bag. They might be doing some other shit.
Yeah.
I mean, in the realm of hip hop chaos, you give a shit about any of this Jay-Z shit?
Do I care to address Jay-Z potentially being exposed for shit that we've been saying he's been doing for quite some time? Not entirely. A lot of this shit, I mean, Epstein had his run in exposing shit that we already knew and nothing came of it. And when it comes to...
Get rid of that boy.
Yeah, they got rid of him, but they also got rid of him so they didn't have to change shit because they don't want to. They profit off of it just as much as they complain about it. But I feel like for us, even if, Jay whatever, like we know Jay was messing with the youngsters. Like, come on now. He's with Beyonce and there's a significant age difference between the two. Like, that's not...
Did he fumble that shit at the goal?
He did. He fumbled that shit.
Anyways.
But, yeah, like we from Aaliyah to like, we knew Hov was kind of out here dipping and dabbling. And if shit comes out to be exposed for what we've had murmurs and whispers about all this time, is it really going to change anything with y'all? No. Y'all still going to want to be posturing yourself close to artists. Because, I mean, even if we talk about artists that have been doing this and now it being exposed X, Y, and Z, let's not forget, a lot of you niggas was crushing on whoever in high school, and she was definitely coming to get picked up by some nigga that was 23 and a gangbanger in the neighborhood.
That was a fucking thing.
It's for sure a thing. A lot of y'all was out here bragging because my man is in college, he older, and because you peaked early body-wise, so now you in 10th, 11th grade dating dudes that's well out of high school, and you think that shit is cute. And it makes you super special. No, it makes him a little bit of a pedo. But it's okay because he's cool or because he's an adult and he's getting money and you're not thinking nothing of it. Like, come, if we really going to address the shit, let's actually address the shit. It makes me think of the girl I sent you that did the freestyle of like, yeah, we cool with fucking hood niggas and street niggas being pedophiles because they get in the bag. We don't say nothing about it, but a lot of them niggas are fucking pedophiles. You niggas either dropped out of high school or whatever, but you selling dope and fucking up the community, but you quick to go find you one of them young, already developed girls to kind of mess with and posture yourself as being whatever to her, and you gonna try to turn her out as far as getting her on the hood or doing whatever. Like, a lot of y'all that was out here as girls banging and shit and claiming certain sets or certain neighborhoods. You wasn't doing that because your older brother was from there. You was doing that because some older niggas you was fucking with was from that hood. So if we really gonna talk about the shit and how it affects our community, not just because we want to talk about pop culture news, then let's really talk about it. If we're not gonna really talk about it, then shut up.
Well, I for sure don't think it's... I guess in some spaces it's getting talked about. Like,
it's getting teed.
Yeah,
as far as like we gossiping, but we ain't talking about it for real.
Yeah, because that aspect right there, I haven't seen tons of. I know the conversation starts and stops pretty much around allegations, you being able to bring these up and not anonymously. There's been enough shit to come out that shows like there's mad inconsistencies and things that she's saying. So in that vein, I can understand the point of like, you fucking drop some allegations, from the male perspective. I get like, well, nigga, don't just say some shit and we like run with it. Like, bring proof, bring this. I don't have any issue like going from that stance. I do always have my ears up for just niggas from that era because that was a weird era. I love the music, but I'm adult enough now to kind of go like, hey man, like I like the art and I like what was, my favorite bops, but some of these bops is fucking nuts. Now that I can listen to them with adult ears,
listen to some of them lyrics, you be like, huh? Hold on.
And there's just certain things that is weird. Like I know there's a lot of things that I find positive, or we've all found positive when you look at Beyonce and Hove, but that's an age gap that, like me personally, I I probably couldn't. I could have never bagged to Beyonce. That age gap is something that I'm not. I'm not wired like that.
I ain't got it. I'll be attracted to you. I was thinking that shit today and just in general. Like, I go to the gym every single day. And a lot of people that see me in the gym, they don't know that I'm the age that I am until I tell them. Like, I've had girls look and kind of smile and this, that, and the other, and we'll see you every day, and we finally speak, and they want to exchange information. And they were like, oh, well, how old are you? I was like, I'm 38. Oh, shut it. Like, you do not look like you are about to be 40. And I was like, I know. Like, how old are you? Like, oh, I'm 23. Oh, nah. We can be cool because I'm going to see you every day anyway. I'll say what's up. But as far as me actually trying to, like, at least be 27, 28, if you ain't somewhere hovering close to 30 or about to be 30, I just, all I got for you is some eyes and some what's ups. And I'll show love to you. But there's nothing that I have of interest from a 23-year-old, right? I don't have it. So I can imagine, being 28 and there's some 18-year-old girl in the club. Like, you're old enough to get in here, and yeah, you may be attractive, but I don't have nothing for you, especially if I'm like, whatever, a millionaire, or I'm balling like I say that I am. I have access to all this ass, and I chose the fresh out of high school booty.
That's the shit that like there's no justification for it, but that always to me just adds the extra on it of like, I don't know. I feel like sometimes it's like this weird karmic balance of like, yo, you make a great song, you're musically great, you make a lot, but the more we have access to y'all niggas' lives, even if you're not simply like this level of creep, y'all be fucking losers. Like, damn, the worst thing in the world is to give you niggas a mic with no music behind it. What the fuck are you talking about?
Nothing. You exposing yourself. Oh, young thug ass niggas out here telling on yourself in your music.
So yeah, I don't agree always with this whole you are immediately sentenced as soon as allegations hit. I'm never gonna get behind that. No. I think about that for just individuals in general. Like, I'm biased, obviously, like from a black man scale, but like in general, that's just nuts. I feel like y'all gotta grow up with the fact of, things were alleged, then you deserve to get investigated. They deserve to kind of, take all this shit to the nth degree to figure out what has or has not happened. I do not think like you should be able to just lie on a motherfucker and take off. But given the fact that there's some shit there, then yeah, nigga, like, rape is crazy.
Yeah, like, then what do we do about that though, going forward? Because that would mean we have a major issue in the rap industry, especially with a particular generation or demographic of like messing with the young girls. I think just like, say, with these younger generations, they may not be messing with the younger girls per se because they're all young and they fucking with each other, but I'm trying to be a rapper and an OnlyFans person at the same time, or everybody's doing sex work and music, or like each generation has the shit that needs to be addressed. And I think for that generation, like, yeah, y'all niggas was 27-year-old dope boys out here messing with the fresh out of high school girls. Like, if she got an ID, she good enough to go. And I think there's an issue. Like, we gotta actually address why y'all behaving that way.
I think motherfuckers can address a couple ways. I think that there's far more Drakes in music than, and I don't mean Drakes by just flat out calling him like
pedo.
Yeah, I mean Drakes as far as motherfuckers who in real life are wheelchair Jimmy. From all respects and purposes, how we've all described this man, we initially enjoyed him because he was just a regular schmo who learned how to rap and just could make good music. But you're not necessarily looking at Drake and thinking this is the coolest nigga on earth. No. You're like, from this kind of dude from Canada, maybe even dweebish, comes out and raps, and you're like, oh shit, and he's figuring it out. I feel like a lot of niggas have that aspect, and so you're trying to get it back in blood for what you've experienced when you wasn't the guy. You did not do any internal work. You just got a buttload of money, but you're still the same, like, nigga, I got it. Like how they talk, like how when niggas talk about, like, I got to make sure we ain't never got it. Bro, you're up 50, 60 M's. Your career has lasted 20 years. Why are you still talking like this? Why are you not speaking from a space of, I'm the nigga and I'm looking to grow and whatever the fuck else? You're carrying, but you've never moved past that because you did get a deal when you were like 22 and you've been the same nigga since then. You may have made your business moves, Love and hip hop to me is just one big show of motherfuckers who have never moved past whatever traumas they went through in their life. That's where you identify. That's where you, you know what it is? Geek reference. Everybody is doing. I feel like this might be a little disrespectful to Magneto. I'm sorry, Eric.
He deserves it.
But that scene where he's like, I have used my powers out of anger. And Charles teaches him, like, you know, anger and serenity, you can move past this space. And he was like, just started moving satellites. The nigga picked up the Golden Gate Bridge. It was fucking amazing. He
was out there getting that young booty too.
Yeah, he was. Well,
when he first met Rogue.
Oh yeah,
He
Rogue
was
is
younger
Oh, I
and
thought
she
we was
was
talking
younger.
about Raven.
No.
No, yeah, Rogue is nasty. Rogue is nasty business.
Yeah.
That is nasty business.
He was not getting them young buns too, and then double
But he's a
back
white
when
man.
she got
That's their
old.
shit.
White,
Yeah, that's white man.
That's a whole nother aspect of the conversation that we.
Oh, that's where I was headed afterwards. So to wrap this first part up, motherfuckers have, you're still whoever you were when you started, and you haven't done anything to move on. That coupled with kind of just good old fashioned, that good old white patriarchal shit. Because then it's these dynamics of, I'm moving through life, I'm making money. I haven't figured out how to be like a great person, but I know I can control a certain motherfucker with money. You don't have no experiences. So if you're coming out of high school, you're young, you're trying to make it, all these things come from, I got money, I can maneuver you in a way. On the flip side, there is a nigga with money is always the valuable nigga. But some of them are young. Some of y'all are 40 saying this, so like nobody's like blood-free hands on this at all. But it's kind of the same bag of shit we talk about always. It's just heightened because these motherfuckers have so much money and access that they could do it in just kind of more exuberantly crazy ass ways. But yeah, the foundations are horseshit. Like, just because you make a great song, you're not a great person yet. That kind of is show and prove. You are kind of a fuck nigga.
I mean, not that I want to defend it, but I don't want to say it's 100% just whiteness and patriarchy. Because for a lot of cultures, if you go back far enough, if we talk about like we have the whole my body, my choice as far as sexual liberation and things of that nature are concerned, which is trying to go back in more of a toxic way to how things were originally done before patriarchy said monogamy is the thing to do because reasons and women are property and dowries and all that. But it was more of like, yeah, once she's menstruating and she's a woman, she's eligible to get married and have sex with this. And like some of them have practices and cultures were like, yeah, once a year, the women in this culture, they have sex with X amount of men before they get married. And they're supposed to sleep with all the men in the village for today. And she's like, she's 15. Like, a lot of that shit has been around for centuries. So when we start talking about what we deem appropriate and inappropriate, yes, we do have to look at the patriarchal aspect of things. But we also have to look at how human beings relate to one another and what that has looked like and what's appropriate for our society, one, not just because of religion or patriarchy or whatever the case is, but like what makes sense in our society, what is ethical in our society, and then let's actually stick to it as opposed to being selective with it. Again, having the conversation everywhere as opposed to just in one particular area. But that's labor. That's laborious, and people don't want to do labor. They don't want to work.
Well, nah, because especially that gets into my little like back and forth from motherfuckers going like, I don't know. There needs to be some deliberation about like, well, this is my truth. Hey, nigga, some shit is the truth. And while somebody might have been, you know, I think older cultures had a lot of shit on the ball. They figured out a lot of shit spiritually. There are some spaces where, obviously, as the latter fucking generation, we got some better shit on the ball. I don't give a fuck what a nigga say. You not finna make any of this fucking, you know, biologically speaking, you sound weird. I'm finna crack you, my boy. Like, if we not somewhere working or in a session clinical space and you get that off, other than that, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? You are 35. And the crazy shit, I see even like crazier shit sometimes, because if I'm having a conversation with my sister or whatever, and like just niggas just DMing, and it's like, bro, you do the fucking selfies where you look down at your phone. Man, get the fuck up out of here. What are you talking about, big dog? Like, go raise your fucking kid. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I think that's part of that. I don't want to shift it too non-monogamy, but I think part of that is depravity. Like, because we get to a certain point and we say our relationships have to look a certain way, people get deprived with shit, and then that makes them deviate. Whereas if we're a lot more open and accepting with things, people are less deprived, or they're like, yeah, I don't need to try and find some young girl that will be fascinated by my money and my pension check and my blue pill in my pocket to, like, provide for her some shit that she can't provide for herself, so I have access to ass because I ain't really getting none. As opposed to, like, yeah, no, it's okay for my husband or my wife to go get these occasional needs met outside of me, and it doesn't mean that I'm insecure because of it. Like, when we start being more open and accepting with how we relate to each other, it keeps people from doing goofy shit that is just, I don't want to say out of character, but it's like, I look at it kind of like, porn addiction. People look at porn so much that they start looking at categories that they're not even really interested in. It's just a matter of, as far as dopamine is concerned, the shit I normally watch doesn't stimulate me. And now my shit ain't working the way I need it to work. And I have to start looking at the dark sides of porn.
From old school Pinky to speed bag my balls.
It's whatever the case is, but it's like, why am I looking at this? Because I've been looking at this shit for so long, like, my body just doesn't respond. Where if we were a little bit more open to say, it just go get you some strange every once in a while. Like, it's okay. Like, you're not disrespecting your partner for doing X, Y, and Z. Like, having those conversations may make or help people do less sexually deviant shit, whatever said sexually deviant shit may actually look like.
I think get you some strange can be a thing depending on the person. But I think sometimes when motherfuckers get to talking, I'm like, bro, your problem isn't sexual. Like, you are expressing it in a sexual way because that's just, you know what you know. But you feel unheard, unseen, unwhatever.
Yeah.
You don't know how to express it. Or maybe you have expressed it well and you express it to said individual. She undermines it, throws it out, disrespects you again, or, does that thing that everybody talks about, like she places her needs over yours. So you went somewhere to find that. And it turned out like, you went to fucking see Cinnamon at the strip club, and it's Cinnamon's job to talk to you nice. And Cinnamon did that. She rubbed your nuts. She knew you would get an extra $40 if she went back there and just kind of, got you. Yeah, you get a little private dance. Now you and Cinnamon go together, but you don't really like her either. It's just that she fucking is. You've never had I swear,
I'm not feel like you're humanized, even if it is a performance.
Yeah, I'm not trying to make it small potatoes, but nobody's ever treated you nice. That's not a nice person that you're with. You don't know how to express you actually know
how to express. You don't feel safe to. I actually had this conversation.
There we go.
Well, I kind of, but didn't have this conversation last night. So I went with a lady friend to her company's Christmas party. And, of course, it's a room full of therapists. Therapists and social workers. Like, everybody's kind of in the space doing the work. And, like, one of the girls that kind of sat down and was talking to us, she's new in the field. And she was, like, talking to her because she's kind of been there for years and kind of getting some game. And she's like, oh, what do you do? And I explained to her, you're at where I'm trying to get to. Like, you're independent. You've been in the field for 10 years, X, Y, and Z. And then she's like, well, what's your demographic, your niche? And I explained that to her a little bit. And she was like, oh, I just feel like so many men just, like, if they knew how to express their emotions, this, that, and the other, blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, okay. I didn't really dig into it. It's like, you're new. This is your first year. You're going to learn that what you're saying right now makes no sense. So rather than digging your ass, I'll let history kind of teach you. But the thought I had in my head and what I talked to my friend about was like, yeah, a lot of people assume that men don't know how to express their emotions as opposed to looking at other parts of the spectrum, whereas you're just not a safe person to express to. So I choose not to because of safety. And the only way that I can think of protecting myself is to just be quiet, because I can't say that this person that I'm supposed to have physical dominance over, or because of certain things like patriarchy, I'm supposed to be more dominant over, is making me feel unsafe and uncomfortable, because then that makes me look weak, so to speak. So I would rather just say, nah, I'm going to tough it out, man up, and just I'm going to deal with her bullshit, because that's just what women do. And it's just they don't know how to, like, you minimize the bullshit as opposed to acknowledging, no, she's just not as great of a person as I want myself to accept, because that also means if I accept not how terrible of a person she is, but how terrible she is in certain areas, and that I would leave her and have to start over, then that means I have to be lonely. And men struggle with loneliness the same way women do. Men are afraid of loneliness like you bitches are afraid of loneliness and not having somebody to match pajamas with in this time of year.
Jesus.
So we struggle with that shit too. It's just that we can't say it. A lot of men, quote unquote, get bitches not because they really care about having a lot of women. It's just like, I'm afraid of being alone and I want companionship, but I don't trust any of them to actually be companions with them. So I just find somebody to be comfortable with and that I can tolerate, so to speak.
I agree with that. I think I also think sometimes, and I'm saying this like from a personal perspective, like within reason. I don't want to do this like just resentfully, but I don't know. Don't be scared to say terrible person. Like sometimes I know I pulled the punch on terrible person, but when I think back, I was like, hey, like yes, terrible situations. But I don't know, bitch. Like for these couple months here, and here, this was just terrible person activity.
You've performed. I'll say that you've performed terribly. I won't say that makes you a terrible person. There's certain things like, and I think that's just part of me being emotionally mature over my years of growing. It's like, even for said ex that we've talked about a few different times and all of her cheating behavior that I navigated through, I still wouldn't say she's a terrible person. She just has terrible ethics and terrible communication that she has to learn how to navigate through.
I think my thing with that is like, I agree with that. So like, let me maybe try to clean it up. I think sometimes giving yourself or myself or yourself, sir, on the other side of the screen, space to I guess allow that person to be potentially terrible in your mind allows you to go the distance that you might need to heal it. If I'm consistently giving you, like cutting you slack before I even process what's happened, I might not ever let myself feel like, nah, like, oh, you know, she was, you know, crazy. That's how women act. You were abused. Now if you don't let in your mind, if you don't allow your mind to go, this person is an abuser, then you'll never, I don't know, get through that process. And I feel like you get yourself in the space of rerunning the cycle because it's like, you know, she had a bad day. I'm gonna give her that. You're getting abused. You should remove yourself, or this is how you can get out of this or change this abusive situation. But if you never call it abuse, it's never gonna like flip or push forward in the way that you need to.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes that's been
Got him.
he did. I think that's sometimes been an aversion to therapy. You know, words therapy. I did a consultation last week. I'm trying to schedule like 2 more this week. But that was something that I've gone through like in a past therapeutic experience of like it makes me think of Tank Davis. Tank Davis was like out loud talking about like I want to go to therapy, but not yet because I feel like it's gonna allow me to like process my pain, and I use that pain to fight. If I don't have it, I'm not gonna be as good. And I just think about that as far as like niggas' aversion from therapy because of what you will uncover and heal, and how much you're fueled off the bullshit. Because I thought like about that, like when I had like one of my previous therapists, she was really dope. Yeah, like I really like her, but you know Kaiser's fucking on strike right now, so I don't know what the fuck she's doing. But maybe I reach out to her.
They're starting to come back.
But part of my thing with her was almost I had to catch myself on like kind of mitigating or pulling back on information because you could see where it was going, and I was like, oh, I'm not necessarily prepared for the maneuver with this. Like it was like, oh well, this particular relationship shit is not really working out the best for you from what you're saying from these experiences. And I'm not by that time I had like, you know, I was, you know, reading up on shit, so I was like, be fucking honest and open. That motherfucker was like, well, between this and this, you should probably pause it. Me, a raging genius, was like, well, I'm not ready for that. I shouldn't talk about this anymore. So I think like I kind of think about that as far as the Tank thing about just niggas in general, fear of, you know, what you're gonna uncover in there and what that requires you to do. I'm very used to this chaos. Kind of niggas live, I think, very much on a better the devil you know than the devil you don't.
Yeah.
Especially even with that loneliness piece. I would be unhappy but not lonely here as opposed to having to figure it out, not getting my fucking back kicked in, but having to figure out how to gain the strength for loneliness. I got a great squat. I don't like the bench press. You're telling me to bench press. I don't want to do that. Let alone some fucking cardio, boy. I throw this whole gym out the window. And I don't know. I think that's how a lot of niggas move through this shit. And I don't know, not giving motherfuckers selves the grace of like, no, man, abuse doesn't always have to look like fucking Ike Turner balling up his fist. Like that's how it, like in your brain, that's what abuse is. So if you're not having that, that's, man, you literally, 9 times out of 10, you're not gonna fucking experience that.
If I was able to acknowledge that my mom was abusive, maybe I'd realize why I have these issues with women that I have. Because I love my mama. She did the best that she could, but that doesn't mean that you can't acknowledge that she was still emotionally manipulative or abusive or verbally abusive or whatever the case is. But because we shoot in early stages, we shoot some of the people that we deal with so much bail that we enable them and make excuses for them that we end up doing the same thing for the same types of people in our life later on down the line. Y'all niggas like playing Madden, EA Sports is in the game. Fucking empathy and accountability. You can give that shit and be accepting of it all at the same time. If you're going to play the game, those are the rules you need to play by. Empathy and accountability. If you can hold people accountable but also give them some grace, you will be able to do that shit for yourself. More so, if you can do it for yourself, you can do it well with other people and be able to do it in a healthy way. But it's okay to have some empathy for somebody, but say, hey, you was fucking up all at the same time. And that doesn't mean that I hate you because I acknowledge the fact that you were fucking up. But I think a lot of us are codependent on our identity being a particular way, which is why we don't want to do that work. Like, I need to have this narrative of myself, because not only if I break this down, will I not know what to do in these different approaches or learn some things about myself that may be difficult. I will lose my complete identity of who I think I am if I do this work. And I don't want to lose that identity. If I do this healing work, I realize that the whole player-ass nigga that I've been all this time, like, he really not a player. You might be one of them niggas that's manipulating the younger girls with a subpar mouthpiece, because they're stupid enough to believe what you got. And you know that deep down. You just don't want to acknowledge that, because then you have to realize that, like, my mom was abusive and my auntie touched me a couple times. That's why I like manipulating these young girls to get X, Y, and Z out of them, because I'm looking for validation that I never got in a safe way when I was a kid.
Before you snap, ma'am, you the one raising that motherfucker now. But anyways.
You contributed.
You know what that makes me think about?
How you can have custody of the child, but that doesn't mean you're a good parent of the child?
Fuck yeah, for sure. That makes me think, because I haven't done one of these in a while. That mom from Aristocats, that could potentially be a funky bitch. The shit that you just said, she could have put on them 3 babies, because all of them motherfuckers had, from what I see, them niggas had 3 different daddies. And then of all the fucking cats you could go find in this city, I love Abraham DeLacy. Giuseppe Casey, Thomas O'Malley, the alley cat. Real nigga. But he was a straight nigga. Like, you could have got these kids an upstanding father and you went out of your way with 3 babies.
But even say hold him accountable.
She was a fuck nigga a little bit.
He's a fuck nigga too, because you supposed to be real nigga, and you know you's an alley cat, and you settled, because I don't think better of myself. What? I settled for a woman with 3 kids.
That was some fucking condition. What that fucking movie that James Earl Jones, was that Celine? Whatever that shit was in the 70s. She had 7 kids. Man,
yeah, where he was in a fucking county office.
Man, this was some bullshit. Everybody loves. Well, not everybody. Everybody don't love to be a cat. Don't whip me. Everybody don't. But you know the song. You hear what I'm saying. But all I'm saying is she was kind of she wasn't like, you know what I'm saying? When you look at this as an adult, you know what I'm saying? The Dalmatians, dogs, a complete family. They just fucked a lot. That was a loving family. It was a husband, his wife. They 100 and some kids. Well, they had a couple kids, but then they adopted. They was for the community.
Right. Dalmatians
through and through. Amazing shit. I don't know, man. I'm just saying, I feel like that mom was a bit funky when you think about it. You could say, them kids wasn't different complex. Them kids had different fathers, and we don't know what the fuck happened. And I don't know about that. I don't know what that messaging is, Disney. I'm on a mission. I done got through about 7 Disney movies. I'm gonna keep it up, because I'm noticing shit as I get older. Bitch was kind of a bad mom, man.
Yeah, I mean, she
made some choices.
She ain't the only one out there. I mean, I'm pretty sure we have come across and will come across some just like her. They may not have 3 kids. They may just have 1. But that don't mean they ain't in the same mindset. So,
I don't know,
needless
man.
to say, y'all like watching Disney movies. If she loved Disney movies, be careful because she probably is part of the toxicity that was in the underlying points of these movies that they love so much.
Remy Ma got one kid.
Yeah, we see how she was looking when she was getting roasted in that freestyle battle.
Shit.
Got Papoose out here looking
Fuck, man.
suspect all this time.
I don't know, man. I don't know, man. The internet, y'all know what the fuck this story is, man. It is what, you know, shit. Be careful, my boy. I don't know.
Protect your heart, 3 stacks.
Yeah, I know there's a bunch of fucking stories left and right, but I just, you know, on the flip side, we would be burning Papoose at the stake if it was like, you know,
The opposite.
but I feel like I take that back. For this one, I don't know, from what I've seen, it's a lot of motherfuckers burning Remy at the stake. Like,
That's only because Pat went to jail. I mean, because she went to jail
yeah.
and he held her down while she was in jail.
Yeah, I feel like anybody in the reverse, you know, I'm like, to go back and forth with this. But that is, you know.
Niggas ain't burning Keisha KR at the stake. And she was supposedly out here fucking around with Gucci's money while he was locked up.
But see, here's my thing. I feel like, I don't know, I'm not a jail nigga, so, you know.
I don't know. Y'all like
but
jail niggas.
I feel like a bit of the rule is this. It's a little insane. Insane is a little harsh, but I feel like if you lock down, you after a certain number, I don't know what number that is, but at a certain number, if it's like, unless they got conjugal visits, you might have to think like something's happening on the outside. But the hold down is, you know, you might have got your needs met while I was locked in here, but if I touch down and you got all my shit in order, then yeah, you don't fucking. You lock in with that person. That's why if a nigga did that and she's, you know, coming up here holding you down, you got whatever. Like, that's why it would look a little nuts if Guap had came out and would have just said, fuck it. And it's like, you know, from how the story goes, she got that money, flipped it, stacked it up, flipped it, rubbed it down. Then, yeah, maybe you did get your needs met. But as soon as you heard, goddamn, 1017, I'm on the way home, that bitch said, all you niggas get the fuck out of Dodge. We have a family. We got a kid. You know, that might be okay. On the flip side, that just makes us like fuck. And you know what's crazy about that too is like, it ain't like you fucked a nigga that was like, you know, in a complete. You fuck a nigga in my field, but that is arguably beneath me. I'm Papoose. Maybe I didn't drop nothing in the last couple years, but I was an elite nigga in an elite hip hop era.
I mean, it's same Keisha. She's supposed to be fucking Yo Gotti and some other niggas. That's niggas that's so-called beneath Gucci at the time.
Yeah, that's crazy. You
But
fuck somebody. You can't fuck nobody like.
You can't
away.
fuck my peers.
Yeah, come
People
on, man.
that I know, that I work with, that I'm cool. You can't do shit like
You gonna fuck my doppelganger?
Yeah, fuck somebody.
That shit's crazy.
Fuck somebody that I don't really work with or fuck with. Like I get you being around the same community of niggas. Like you have access to, because she was, you know, big time video vixen at the time and all that other stuff. So like you have access to the same niggas that I work with, but not people that I actually work with. People that are in our community, fine. People that are in my orbit, that's a little different.
So the nigga bald, got glasses and bearded too. Heaven forbid he's in a
He had the baller belly and everything. Just
yeah,
saying.
man. He in the
He just shorter. That's
he's
it.
he's not a therapist. He's in behavioral. Oh, wait a minute.
Right.
What the fuck is wrong with
He's
you?
behavior modification, a counselor of something. Like if you don't knock it off,
Let me go ahead and get in my evil villain bag real quick. I gotta figure it.
The only way I'm cool with you doing that from a non-monogamous standpoint is like if I'm aware, hey, so and so is interested. You're in here for the next year and a half. I don't plan on being with him. I just want to spend time with somebody and have somebody around. Like, how do you feel about that? You know, what's the bound? We'll use condom, whatever. Like, if it gets to that point, like, but like having that conversation and be like, all right, just make sure X, Y, and Z, this, that, and the other. But if we talk about it, then I may be okay with it. But if you sneaking around doing it, I don't care what the parameters are. To me, the fact that you're sneaking around doing it makes me feel like you're untrustworthy.
I feel like, you know, jail niggas probably have it terrible, but I think the ones who have it worse is motherfuckers in the military. I'm over here fucking, you know, regardless of what your political shit is, like, if essentially, you know, it's a lot of poor people trying to get their lives together. And it's like, nigga, I'm over here fighting for my motherfucking rights. You own the motherfucking, you on my insurance and everything, and you gonna fucking nigga in my house. That's why them niggas be crashing out. I'm not saying, you know.
It's the same for the officers, too. All y'all bitches love a nigga in uniform
Yeah,
until he got to go to work.
Yeah, that's crazy. I want the motherfucker who's doing really well until his Willy wellness requires that he do some shit to say that's some wild shit,
He's
man.
a selfish ass nigga. But you only like a man in uniform because it means stability for you in the first place. So that's.
I also feel like also motherfuckers be. I don't think that I'm okay. This might sound good, but like motherfuckers, I just don't feel like cheat well. And I'm saying this as a reformed side nigga. You know, I've been out the game for a while, and I be minding my business. But it's like, oh, we're gonna go out, and it's like, damn, why are you going out? Like, you don't just want to pull up and like sneak and leave. At least that's like I'm getting needs met. I might be a little mad. That's why sometimes like when you hear like niggas cheat, it's like, man, I can't defend this motherfucker because it's like, why did you take her hither and yonder? And motherfucker be like, well, if I didn't do that, she wouldn't have fucked me. Well, then yeah, nigga, because like you're not supposed to fuck her the same way you fucking your goddamn partner. I'm not trying to condone this shit, but I'm just like, motherfuckers don't get themselves no wiggle room. That motherfucker Papoose post that shit, and y'all sitting up here taking Christmas pictures. Yeah, I'm finna crash out. What are you talking about? You didn't like go fuck this nigga in a cave somewhere, y'all. Texting, sending pictures, happy, today I was, the fuck you mean today? What y'all talking about having a good day? Pull up or don't. I feel like you probably could get a little further with that, at least. I don't know. But, it's my ratchet ending to the fucking show, man. I don't know, because I'm going to leave you the fuck alone.
Moral of the story is, don't be like a number of my exes.
Yeah, that's something.
I guarantee that every man has had that experience at least once.
What?
As far as having to deal with some tomfoolery being done behind their back.
Yeah.
We talk about men or X, Y, and Z, but it's like y'all don't know. I be in therapy with people. That's another part of the conversation I was gonna share. Like, if as much as y'all say shit about men,
shit off. Shit, we can start this. Yeah, this will start when it starts. Pause.
As much shit as y'all say about men, if you could hear the stories and experiences that I hear and that other people hear in therapy, where it's like, hey, you deserve better than that, brother. Why are you motherfuckers couldn't tell me nothing on social media. I can look at some of the shit that y'all post in y'all stories and tell you that you're the problem. You ain't gonna be ready to hear that.
Fuck yeah.
I can definitely see how you're the problem in the situation, but I have motherfuckers that come to therapy and have been with me for years, and it's like, hey, you don't love yourself enough to like. Hey, we talked about this before. Why are you allowing yourself to be exposed to this type of bullshit? What's going on with you? Have I not taught you better? Do you love yourself? Like, what's going? Like, there's a lot more men out here that don't fit that stereotype that y'all like to tell yourself. But that goes back to the statement of, if I do the work, I realize that, how codependent on this identity that I am. A lot of y'all are codependent on women are just absolved of all things and men are the problem. Y'all are so codependent on that identity that if you did the work, it would shatter your dreams to realize that you are the problem and presenting it to yourself and other people.
Yeah, I think it's hard to kick your own ass. I think it's hard also, especially if you process things like men have, like ass kicking is a thing. So like if I engage with this in a way where I'm like, oh, something fucked up is happening, or she's doing some fuck shit, or behind my back or whatever, I don't have the tools just yet to like process this, and I might like literally crash out. So it's like, if I pretend it's not there, it's not healthy. But if you pretend it's not there, you stave off, I don't know, man, ruining lives, because you don't know how to like process that properly. I think there's like a bit of that, and I think like the ego around like acknowledging it, because a nigga cheat, he didn't appreciate her. She cheat, you got to do a lot of litigation for her to not for her to be like she didn't appreciate him. For a long time, it's like you weren't doing enough to satisfy her, and niggas propped that up because niggas as well. Well, everybody propped that up, but I know niggas didn't flip the script until recently, when it became like a bit too cool to like hate the other side, because niggas on the other side always looked at themselves as being the nigga who was cracking. So it's like, that's that nigga problem, man. Shit, he, get your bitch, man. Bitch chose me, man. And niggas be liking that narrative until they the nigga.
And then they be in shambles and want to shoot some shit up because what you've done was now done to you.
And I don't know. I understand the narrative of like, she's not yours, she's just yours right now. I go back and forth with how much of that is like a healthy detachment from, possession, and then how much of that is blocking you from actually connecting with this individual. Because I was big on that. I don't care what you do, because I've never been as locked in as I needed to be for it to hurt me.
Healthy way to detach that. Side note for the shameless plug would be poly, because I don't want to hear none of you niggas talking about she's not yours, it's just your turn. Well then, bitch, why are you sitting up here doing the performative monogamous shit as opposed to saying like, hey, it's my turn right now, and when somebody else comes along, I'm comfortable with it being their turn as well, and we just kind of chill and do our thing, and then they progress their relationship how they progress it. If you gonna say that, then why not embrace the fact that we all can be human beings and have multiple relationships and navigate them at the same time? You don't want to. You telling yourself that shit to make it seem like you ain't hurt and you really hurt, as opposed to just saying, it hurts that I actually invested in this individual as more than just a whore, and it didn't turn out the way that I would like it to turn out. And it might be a little bit karma for how I was moving in my previous situations, or how I was moving in this situation a little bit earlier. It's okay to take accountability. EA Sports, nigga.
Dr. Bryant and whatever lady was on that show that she do on BET said, Neo and the poly people be doing poly because
we're emotionally unhealed.
Yeah, it was some shit like that.
Yeah, no. That's the mononormative statement that comes from patriarchy and a lot of other bullshit that people make up to make it seem like being monogamous is more virtuous than being polyamorous.
Yeah, I don't.
If you did the work in your history, you would actually learn that monogamy is actually not the original way or the prescribed right way that we interact with other human beings. 1, 2, you would realize that the language that you use to describe that shit is ignorant and divisive. And it comes from a place of patriarchy and emotional manipulation. What you said was very emotionally manipulative. Because you're doing something that I don't agree with, you in turn are wrong. And not only are you wrong, there's something wrong with you. You know what that's called? It's called gaslighting. Shout out to the universe for perfect timing. Twice. Gaslighting does strike twice.
I'm about to say. What is this?
Dr. Bryant, you can suck it.
Hilarious. Yeah, man, I did a lot of rooting for her on here. Every time I'm not even speaking to like just the poly thing. There's a couple of things I be saying. I'm like, hey man, this is not like that therapeutic. I don't want to spend that much time on her, but
at best. And it's not even anecdotal. It's more so like personally. This is my personal anecdote based on my shit. Like,
yeah, which I feel like everybody can have an opinion. I just feel like some shit framed as, therapeutic, it just is not. There's shit that I say like from a therapeutic perspective that's not. It's still shit I have to work on. But I'm like, yo, you saying that shit like from a like that right there isn't that therapeutic. And I don't know. This is I'm getting very particular.
You making up your own DSM.
Yeah, or some shit is just it's legit like. Again, like just anecdotal, like from your fucking experiences and shit.
Performing for that check. There's no difference between you and the girl that's dancing that fucking Blue Flame. Y'all both performing for money. Only difference is she take her clothes off.
Well,
y'all both selling dreams based in fallacies.
So,
that DR in front of your name stands for do not resuscitate.
Hilarious. I don't know, man. Don't cheat or do cheat or be honest about it.
Communicate.
Be open. Fuck around. I don't know.
Do the work on yourself so you learn how to do better work with others.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like because I feel like some of y'all kind of like shut off when he said the poly thing because you're not polying it, and I'm like, I'm not a poly nigga, but I feel like all of this shit still applies. So like if you run into fucking heteronormative shit, because I don't have I feel like the patience for all that. I feel like
it requires a lot of patience.
Yeah, see that's the part. I feel like I don't feel like I would do it
depending. You could do solo poly.
What the fuck is that? That just sound like being single.
Pretty much.
Oh,
it's not being single, but it's like I understand that I can have. Being single is like I'm going to weigh my options until I find an option that's best for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Solo poly is like, no, I can have different variations of partnership. I just don't plan to prioritize one particular partnership over anybody else and like settle down with any of them. I'm cool with you guys doing whatever you do. I'm cool staying in my space. When we have the time to connect, I nurture that. I still love and respect you, but I also share space for you to have a primary partner somewhere else. That doesn't have to be me.
Oh, that just sounds like my whole side nigga career. Like, I'm not finna blow up nobody's spot, but like what we do is cool. When I'm with you, we fucking living life. I was super respectful in them days. Like, I cut my phone. Like, I'm talking. We locked in. I am enjoying my time with you. So
yeah, I'm enjoying my time with you.
I don't know. I guess all the side niggas, you solo poly. Solo polying it.
If you talking about it. You may talk to her about it, but she ain't talking to her nigga about it. So y'all ain't really solo poly. Y'all creeping.
Yeah, that's what she creepy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you within your moral obligation.
Yeah.
As long as you're not going to another nigga like a man, because I just wanted to bring it to
Nah, man.
attention.
Even though that'll teach you a lot, because you catch a motherfucker outside and you keep it player, and it's like, man, this is nuts.
Oh, I know. You've seen my situation.
Yeah, I don't know, because I don't plan to get like deep in that bag, but sometimes I'm like, I'm not like a hater on here. Like, I'm just saying, when I be saying shit, like, I'm speaking from at least my personal experience. We would never. That's not true, man. Like, y'all would. And I'm talking about
y'all would, and
for
y'all
years
have.
What I've seen what y'all would and would not.
From multiple sides.
And I'm just saying, like, the more we can, be, you talk about it, you can get to the root, man. We're here to help.
That's what we do. That's what we get paid to do. We get paid to help.
A formative time in my life. I was like, nigga, that's your fiance, baby. That's crazy.
Yeah, I got
Your
that.
fiance? It's one thing for this to be a nigga that that's your fiance. Damn. That nigga paying the bills around the bitch. That's your real boyfriend. Like, he really care about you. What you over here me for?
There's a lot of that going on.
This
Shout out to the
nigga sing
Latinos.
this. He mean this. The lyrics in this, that nigga meant that shit. The fuck you doing over here with me?
Shout out to the Latinos out there. They be doing that shit a lot. Especially when it comes to black men, they don't want nobody to know that they really like feeling black dudes. So they'll keep their Latino husband and be married and engaged and all that. But they creeping with some black dude on the low. They just don't want nobody to know about it.
I like some freelance casual fucking, man. I just, I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying,
I want to do it ethically.
Yeah. I'm not trying to run for nobody. I'm not trying to revenge. I think you really dope, man. No, you making this weird for us.
Yeah, don't do that.
You like me, I like you. Why we fucking, it's a time frame. You wanted to fuck me 3 weeks ago. What do we do all this? Yeah, we could have still ate these tacos and hung out. We could have came too. What the fuck you talking about? You missed your soulmate 3 times. Make the motherfucker wait for some arbitrary time. Shut up. You was horny 2 months ago. Gonna blow your fuck, man. Have a good week.
To my knees, Joanna, please. Will you take me? Will you take me? I might drop to my knees, Joanna, please.
Y'all niggas don't like good music.
Not at all. School bus. Shout out to Travis Hunter for winning the husband.
Oh, you did do that shit. I was low key rooting for Ashton, but black D black.